Ending middle books in a series is different than ending a standalone or your final book. If you want to learn how to end a standalone or a final book, check out my previous video, Getting to the End, How to Satisfy Your Readers. But if you want to end middle books in a series, this is the video for you. Today I want to talk about retaining readers, how to end books in a series. The end of each book in a series still needs to satisfy your readers, but it also needs to compel them to want to know more, to keep reading in your series. This is not an easy thing to do, and it can be the difference between a series readers can't stop reading and one they never finish. So today we're going to talk about those different types of endings and making good on your promises. This is Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers, because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. Let's start with promise more of what your readers want. In a previous video, I talked about the 3 types of book series. Which type of series you're writing is going to determine which kind of ending promise is going to work best for your series. If you're writing a dynamic book series, that means your series is plot-driven or based. You have one overarching plot that is connecting all of your books. Your characters are taking some journey. They're working towards one goal over the course of multiple books. What that means is each book in your series should be one step along that journey. Each book should complete one step along that journey and promise more by hinting at what the next step will be. If your characters are traveling across a world, hint at what the next landscape will be like. If your characters are battling to overthrow someone, hint at what the next battle or challenge will be. If they're gathering items for some purpose, what's the next item on that list? Promise more, but still wrap up that main plot of this current book. Make sure the stakes were won or lost, that that item was obtained or not. Then promise more. If you're writing a static book series, you're crafting a character-driven series. That means each book is not necessarily connected by plot, but it's connected by the main character or cast. So your reader is returning to that series for those characters. You need to promise more of them at the end of your book. This could be hinting at what the next obstacle they face is going to be. It could be hinting at the next mystery of the book or the inciting incident. Maybe it's a series about your character reconnecting with lost loved ones. And you can show them reconnecting with their daughter or sister or whoever, and then at the end of the book, they get a letter from someone else. That's hinting there is more to come. That's promising more of that character. If you're writing the 3rd type, an anthology series, that means your books are not tied together by plot or necessarily the same characters, but by your world or your setting. Your readers are returning for the place, not necessarily the people or the plot. So you need to promise more of that. Hint at what might be in danger in the next book as far as the setting goes. What might change? Is a storm coming? Is winter coming? Is the setting going to be threatened in some way? Maybe the fuel for your magic system is running out. Maybe there's a new contractor in town and the landscape is going to change. Hint at more of the setting if you're writing an anthology series. So, based on what type of book series you're writing, make sure you're promising more of what your readers have fallen in love with about your series. Promise more plot or characters or place. Next, let's talk about types of endings that hook your readers into your next book. There are a handful of types of endings that work well for those middle books in a series. That's because they satisfy while promising more. The first is leaving the boss villain in play. This works particularly well for that dynamic, plot-driven series. If there's some big entity or boss or villain that your characters are trying to overcome by the end of the plot, make sure that at the end of the book that boss is still in play, but that some of his minions have been defeated. Think of it like a video game. Your characters are leveling up, they're defeating harder and harder foes and obstacles, but they still haven't quite reached or defeated that big boss person. Or you can do the ending where you shut the door but open a window. This type of ending works well for that static character-driven series or the anthology setting-based series. In this type, you finish the main plot of this book. It has a conclusion and a resolution, but you open a window and you show that there's more coming. It's important, though, that that is only a window. It's not a whole other door. If it's a whole other door, it feels more like the next chapter in the book, not necessarily the ending. There's a similar type of ending, which is where you create a standalone with close ties. This means you finish the major plot, your characters have arced. You might not even have to read these standalones in order. But at the end of each book, you hint at another mystery, or another case, or another conflict that your character is going to face and have to solve. So each book can still stand on its own, but they are related. The final type is a cliffhanger. Again, this works mainly for those plot-driven dynamic series. I've mentioned this before, but I personally don't like cliffhangers. As a reader, I find them really off-putting, and it'll actually make me stop a series. But there's one place where I reluctantly expect and accept them. That is the second to last book in your series. Whether it's book 2 in a trilogy or book 19 in a 20-book series, if I or another reader makes it to the second to last book, they're almost guaranteed to read that last one. So you can get away with a cliffhanger there, and it might work well for you. Why I don't like cliffhangers is it's not a true ending. It's just a stopping place. It's not satisfactory. But you do still promise more with them. So those 4 ways to end those middle books in a series are to leave the boss villain in play, to shut the door but open a window, to create a standalone with close ties, and to use a cliffhanger. Next, I want to share an editor's thoughts on ending books in a series. Whether you choose one of these endings or something else entirely, remember what you promised when you stopped a book there. When you end a book, when a reader turns to the last page, they are expecting some sort of conclusion or resolution. They think that you chose that place to end that book in your series because it was an okay stopping place, because it would satisfy them and hold them over until they could get to your next book. When you don't do that, when you just stop, or the ending isn't satisfactory, they don't trust you to follow through anymore. They're not as likely to read the next book in your series. So if you want to be a multi-book author, those endings are really important. It's your endings that build your readers' trust. It's your endings that keep readers coming back for more. And when you do endings well, you can get away with fudging other areas of writing. Maybe you have one book with a slower beginning because that's what worked best for that book. Well, if all of your other books had great endings, your reader is going to put up with that slow beginning because they trust you to follow through on the ending. They trust that it will be worth it. Regardless of which type of ending you use, again, it's a good practice to include the first chapter of your next book at the end of each book. Even if that next book is not out yet, you never know when someone is going to read your book. They could get it at a used bookstore. It could be given as a gift. It could be something that they just don't get to for a little while. So by the time they read it and they're hungry for more, that next book is already out. So if your first chapter is ready, it's a good idea to include it. And remember, when you are ending those middle books in a series, you're delivering a satisfactory stopping place, a satisfactory ending, and promising more at the same time. What type of series ending keeps you coming back for more? Share it in the comments below. And for more videos on endings, series, and other aspects of writing, subscribe to Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers. Because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. To find out more about me, you can go to www.ignitedinkwriting.com. There you will also find a revision checklist. Often you find that satisfactory ending in revision. This checklist will help you get there. And now it's your turn to remember to end those middle books in your series with a satisfactory conclusion and the promise of more to come to ignite your ink.